Good morning and happy Monday. Welcome to Wasatch Weekends. I'm Kimberly Perot, and on today's episode, we had a conversation with Bill Humbert about references. What to do, how to check them, make sure that you have some on hand if you're beginning your job search, and if you're an employer, what you should be doing with that. And then I got into the kitchen. I will show you how to make a 2-ingredient fudge. It's packed with protein and helps quell that sweet tooth if you're looking for something a little bit more healthy. But before we get started, let's check out today's weather. With so many years of experience under his belt, Bill Humbert certainly is quite a resource to you if you are on your job search. Let's take a look at a conversation he has about references and what that entails.
Are you someone who's building a new resume? Well, putting your references on there is really important, and there's some tips and tricks on how you should prepare your reference for that reference check. Well, I'm joined by Bill Humbert, the recruiter guy, to give us some more information. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Maddie.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and always sharing your powerful knowledge.
You know, and something you just said, I would like to tweak a little bit. Don't put your references on your resume, and here's the reason why. If I see them and I think that they have better experience than you do, I'll go recruit them. So it's a good idea to have them in your pocket so that you can, approach them when the time comes for somebody to give a reference to a manager. But it's important to also tell that reference that you're interviewing with a specific company and the type of position.
See, you're already teaching me so much just by that one simple tip and trick about doing your resume and keeping your references off of it. Now, as we're talking about references, are companies still doing reference checks?
Yeah, the smart ones are. I'm not saying the others are dumb, but they must not have an interest in cultural fit. So for me, I would be really more interested in working for a company where cultural fit is important, because it would be important for me as an employee.
And how do I prepare the reference that I'm using for the reference check?
That's a great question. And sometimes even I have been just receive a phone call for a reference on somebody that knows me. And I was surprised to get the call, and I was not prepared. So it's important to send a copy of the job description to your references who have agreed to be a reference for you. And then at the same time, discuss your interview that you had with the company and ask them to speak about a time where maybe the manager showed some concern about some of your experience, and that demonstrates that you can actually do that and have done it, whatever that is. And then tell the reference that if that question doesn't come up, it's okay for them to bring it up and say, can I tell you a story about Maddie and how she responded when we needed somebody to really step up for it in the crunch?
These are all such great tips and tricks. And why is it not beneficial to have your reference surprised?
Yeah, well, when you get surprised, it's not good. First of all, they don't know what to say. They're they're going, uh, a reference for Joe. I don't. Sure, let's do this. So they're not prepared. So don't surprise them by not giving them the information they need. And ask your interviewer, who's going to call my references and when should they expect the call? And that way the reference is much better prepared to have that conversation with that manager or whoever calls.
Now, as people are lining up their references, what's the best way to hand select the reference that they would like to use?
I suggest that in my books, I suggest that they choose at least 3, if not 5 references that can speak to their experience as it applies to this company that they're interviewing with. And if 1 or 2 of them say, hey, I can't do it, I'm going to be on vacation or whatever, you've still got your 3 references. But make sure it's people who can speak to your experience.
And that's really important as you're selecting them. That way, all of your bases are covered. Now, you mentioned a book of yours. Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, Expect Success, the Science of the Over 50 Career Search. In the 5-star review, they said, don't worry about it being 50. That was just a niche he was hitting with this title. It's good for everybody, and it really is. So I would suggest that, if you live in Park City or you're going to be visiting Park City on July 27th, I will be at Dolly's bookstore signing Expect Success, and I will from 3 to 5 that day. And you can also, ask me any career search questions that you may have, including salary negotiation, because think about it, I've been recruiting since 1981. And I know more about salary negotiation because I'm the one who's doing it many times with candidates. I know what you can say and what you better not be saying.
And these are all such important ways, and especially as we're seeing such a shift in the cost of living. So it is important that people know what they're asking for when they're asking for their salaries. Bill, thank you so much for giving us so much wonderful information and taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you, Maddie. It was great.
It's always great having you. Now, if someone would like to discuss any of these problems with you directly or maybe have questions for you directly, where can they go for some more information?
It's very easy. I'm recruiterguide.com. And if you click the red banner right there at the top of the page, Speak with Bill, you'll be able to get on my calendar and match your calendar with my calendar and set up a time when we could speak for 30 minutes.
And if they just want more information to continue to pick your brain, to maybe get some more tips and tricks, you have a new YouTube channel that they can check out.
Yes, well, my YouTube channel has been around for a while, but I have Recruiting Conversations is a new series that I'm running that's only 5 to 8 minutes for each segment. And the nice thing about that is you're in between meetings, you just want to get some quick clues on how to do things. Just jump on. 8 minutes later, you're done and you've got your clues.
Bill, again, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, giving us all this great information, and thank you for the hard work that you're always so willing to share.
Thank you, Maddie. It's so good to be able to speak to your audience.
We love having you here. Make sure that you check out the Recruiter Guide. That way you can get all of this wonderful information. Don't forget to buy Bill's book. That way you can continue to read and expand your knowledge. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show, so stay tuned.
I don't know about you, but I certainly have a giant sweet tooth, but I am trying to be more mindful of the things that I put into my body. I show you how to make a 2-ingredient fudge made with cottage cheese. You're probably going, what in the world? But check it out. Well, welcome back, and thanks for joining me in the kitchen. And I am so excited about this next recipe because it blends my 2 favorite things, healthy protein and chocolate. We are making a 2-ingredient fudge. Now, I know you like to be a little bit decadent when you're eating that delicious traditional fudge, but when you are really trying to focus on your health and what you put into your body, this is a really excellent option as well because it's high in protein, and then you've got your normal chocolate. So we're going to compromise a little bit, and we're going with the semi-sweet chocolate chips, but if you wanted to be aware of your sugar content, you can try like the Lily's brand, or Enjoy is also a brand that I really like. They have less ingredients, but we're going to compromise here with semi-sweet Toll House chocolate chips in the middle. And then here's the secret ingredient. We also have low-fat cottage cheese. The cottage cheese is a great blend. It actually is a really good consistency and is a great ingredient that matches with others where it doesn't taste so cheesy. It's excellent to put in dips. It's a great replacement for things, but we're going to use it for our 2-ingredient fudge today. So we've got the chocolate chips and the cottage cheese. What we're going to do is we're going to start with our chocolate chips, and we're going to melt them down because you need it to be nice and melted, and then it gets blended with our cottage cheese in the blender here. So easy 2 ingredients. We need about 1 full cup of chocolate chips. So you can eye it if you want to, or we can just kind of pour it in here and see what happens. If you wanted to make a half recipe, you do about one half a cup of chocolate chips. Looks like I didn't cut my hole big enough here. So I'm just going to put this here, just kind of shake it out there, or as my mom likes to do, faster time effort, just rip it open a little bit more. There we go. So we're doing 1 cup of chocolate chips, and we're going to go ahead and get started. You can melt it really quickly in the microwave, or if you just want to take your time with it and really feel the process, we're going to stir it in a pot over medium to medium-low heat. You just want the chocolate to melt. You don't want to burn it. So this is a great melting chocolate. Other chocolates sometimes do not melt as well, and you may have to use a double boiler. But we're just going to pour these chocolate chips in here. So we've got 1 cup of chocolate chips. I'm going to move these off to the side, and we're going to let them start to melt down. You want to monitor it just by kind of stirring it. As you can see, it's already starting to sizzle in the pan. We'll lower the heat just a little bit, but we just need it to be nice and melted. And as it continues to melt down, again, you can use a microwave for this, but you just want to be very conscious of the kinds of chocolate chips that you use. Some of the properties in chocolate chips actually have a special ingredient in them that keep them from melting. So let's say you want to put it into a chocolate chip cookie, but you want it to save its shape. You need to be on the lookout for chocolate that actually is meltable. So we'll just stir it down. As you can see, it's starting to melt really, really nicely here. We're going to keep it going. Again, you can just keep this in the microwave if you wanted to. I love the smell of melting chocolate chips. This kind of reminds me of my Saturday mornings with my dad. When I was growing up, he would make us chocolate chip pancakes every morning. I could smell the chocolate chips burning on the skillet, and that's when I knew it was time to get up in the mornings. One of my favorite childhood memories, for sure. Okay, it melts really quickly, as you can see, so you don't want to burn your chocolate. We're going to go ahead and melt this down just like this. It's melting. It looks great. All right. If you have a whisk is a great way to really break up all those chocolate pieces. So it's going to be nice and thick, and that's how we're going to maintain our fudge-like texture. So we're shaking some of this out here. Then I'm going to turn off my stove. Before you do anything, always make sure you turn off that stove. All right. We'll put that down. We're going to take the lid off of our blender here. Now, you can use a spoon or a spatula, and we're just going to scoop all of this deliciously melted chocolate into our blender. Now, again, this is going to be thick, so it's not going to be boiled down. You can kind of see here that it's got this like very thick consistency. It's not going to be liquidy like it would be if it were like a melted chocolate syrup. You know, we didn't add any coconut oil to it. You could possibly add some additional coconut oil to this just to thin it out. But again, fudge isn't thin. We don't want a really thin fudge, and we want this to be simple with 2 ingredients. So getting all that nice and delicious chocolate out into the blender. I know what I'll be doing after this. I'll be licking this pot clean because, man, I love the smell of chocolate, and I like the taste even better. We're just scraping it out. Looks good, looks good. Okay. All right, I'd say we're done with that. We've got a little bit of chocolate residue left, but again, doesn't really matter. This is really to taste. So if you wanted it more chocolatey, you could put a little more chocolate in, but we're going to try to stick to the basics as best as possible. Now, we've got our cottage cheese. You want 1.5 cups if you're making a single portion, and 3 cups if you're making double. We're doubling it up because who doesn't want more fudge, especially when it's a healthy version of it. So we're going to do about 2.5 to 3 cups, depending on what that looks like. And we're just measuring it out here. And again, it really doesn't matter what brand of cottage cheese you use or what kind of consistency. It's going to get blended in with our chocolate anyway, so no big deal. All right, we're coming up on that 2 cups here, and we'll just kind of put the remainder. Yeah, looks good to me. Awesome. You know what? I'm just going right in. We're going to just put the whole container in because it's about 3 cups in a whole cottage cheese container anyways. All right, scooping it out. Looking great there. Let's add this here. All right. I know you're probably thinking, what? Cottage cheese and chocolate? Yes, cottage cheese and chocolate. It's going to be great. You can never go wrong with cheese and chocolate, in my opinion. Now, we'll do that. And then we're just going to blend it together until it's nice and smooth. So it might take a minute depending on the speed of your blender, but we're just going to go ahead and get started. As you can see, it's nice and thick. Sometimes you may need to add a little bit of additional, like we'll add just a little bit of water to it just to make it nice and liquidy. And we'll do that now. Like I mentioned, it will be nice and thick. We're not going to put a ton of liquid in here, but just a little bit, just to get things rolling. You can do water, you can do additional milk if you want to, but we're just going to go ahead and stir that around and get it going in this blender. All right, here we go. And that is it. If you wanted to be fancy, you could probably add some salt onto the top of it. Just gonna take some time. It's a slower blender, so it really just depends on, you can see it moving there. Let's see. Let's see. Just pressing all the buttons to get it going. Yep, starting to blend together. Just a little bit, you can see it kind of mixing up there in the bottom. So one of the things that I would do as well is just take your spoon here, help stir it up, help get things going, just like that. Oh yeah, look at that consistency. It's starting to blend together. As I said, it will be thick, so it's just going to take time to get through it. You know, you might have to blend it, or you can always make it in batches if you feel like your blender can't handle that amount. We're just going to keep blending it. It's looking good. It's slowly getting there. We're working our way down. Switch it up a little bit. Looking great. Let's see if we can stir it up and see what happens here. All right. Yep, blending in, looking good. Oh yeah, there is that consistency kind of getting through that. Again, it's going to be thick, so if you feel like you need to add a little bit more to it, you can. But again, you don't want to add too much liquid, but we do want to keep it rolling a little bit so it starts to blend together. Awesome, looking good. Yeah, we're getting there, slowly but surely. We are definitely getting there with our fudge. So you can do it on like the milkshake setting, that's a good one. You might not be able to see it, but I can see it moving around on the inside here. Just taking its time. All right, I'll put that on high, there we go. Yep, it's just blending slowly. You can't tell on the inside, but it is blending. It's looking good. We're getting in there. Oh yeah, now it's starting to move around with that extra liquid. You can hear it. Looking great. I might take it off and give it another little stir. There we go. We'll take this lid off, give it another little stir to make sure that the liquid is getting towards the bottom there. And then again, what you want to have on hand, we're going to just pop this in the freezer for a few hours. You want some parchment paper and a glass dish to do that with. We're almost there, looking great. I'm just going to keeping on this stirring action. Oh my gosh, it smells like fudge. I can tell you that. It does not smell like cottage cheese. It is fudge to a T. So I cannot wait to check this out. Here we go. Getting a little bit more to go. Just continuing to blend it and to blend it. So it's a thicker consistency than a milkshake would be. Okay. We're getting there. It's just going to take a little bit of time because, you know, this is it's an old trusty blender here that we are rocking it and rolling with here on set. All right, let's take it out, check it one more time. We've got just a little bit more of those cottage cheese clumps, but you can kind of just see here, look at that texture. You see that? It just looks nice and blended. So we'll blend it just a couple more seconds just to make sure we get through everything. And then we're just gonna pour it into our dish, into our batter, to make sure that we are good to go on it. Oh yeah, look at how good and thick that is. Just a little bit longer, and we're gonna be done with the blend. Our 2-ingredient fudge will be complete. All we'll have to do is pop it into the freezer to make it rock and roll. So we just got one last round of the blend here. Oh, it looks great, guys. I'm telling you, I'm trying not to take a spoon and just eat it right away. Yeah, looking awesome. We are almost done, almost done. I always like to take a peek this way as well. All right. I'm going to go ahead and say I think we're finished. So before we pour that in, here's a trick. I don't know if you know this trick with parchment paper. We're probably going to need, yep, looks good to me. So what we're going to do is just wet it just a little bit. If you didn't know this trick, it helps kind of crumple it up a little bit better so that you can actually shape it to your dish, which is a fun trick that I just found out about. Thank you to the TikTok and the internet. All right, so our parchment paper looking good in the dish. And this is just so we can easily peel it out of our dish once it's frozen. So we probably freeze it, at least a couple of hours. I would recommend overnight, but it'll be just a delicious little protein, healthy, high treat. We're just scooping all of that delicious chocolatey goodness. Oh my gosh, there is so much of it in here, and we're going to be eating fudge for days here at TV8 and beyond. Awesome. Looking good. You can see that consistency. It's a nice light color. It smells good. It smells like chocolate. We're just going to scrape this out as best we can. All right. I'm about to get chocolate all over my hands, but it'll be something delicious to look forward to at the end of this cooking segment here. All right, there we go. Fudge is done, or at least in its liquid form. We're gonna smooth it out just like that. Oh my gosh, it looks great. It almost looks like a chocolate pudding. And you probably honestly could just eat this as a chocolate pudding if you wanted to. Again, if you don't like cottage cheese, that's okay. You could probably sub in some Greek yogurt, or you could do a combination of Greek yogurt and cottage cheese. But again, protein heavy, delicious, not as indulgent or as bad for you as normal fudge, but there it is. We'll just pop it into the freezer and we'll show you the results shortly after. We'll be right back. Now I let my fudge set in the freezer for a few hours. I went about, did my own thing, did a little bit of my laundry and all of that fun stuff if I were making this at home. So we're gonna go ahead and take it out. As you can see, thanks to the wax paper, it comes right out of our glass tin here. And it starts to melt a little bit. We did let it sit out for a bit in room temperature. I'm gonna flip it over just like that. It might not be the prettiest, but we let it sit. It's gonna look great. And that is it. Our fudge sat for 3 to 4 hours in the freezer. We did let it melt or come up to room temperature a little bit more. And you always want to keep it in the fridge, but maybe cut it on a plate that's like this. That's not indented so that it doesn't break in the middle. But oh my goodness, look at that. 2-ingredient fudge. It's got chocolate chips and cottage cheese. I'm going to taste it. Oh my gosh. It's great. This will satisfy my sweet tooth any day. If you want the recipe, let me know and we'll share it with you in the comments. Well, that's it for this weekend's Wasatch Weekends. I'm Kimberly Perot. Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.